100% correct. War does show people's true colors.
Whether you're talking about war, whether you're involved in the war, whether you're making money off war.
And what if whether you're planning to start a war?
It shows who you are and what you're about.
Correct.
You can't lie.
You can't lie. War tells the truth. You can lie about the premise of the war. You can lie about the reason why you're there. You can lie about the reason why you're trying to attack. But you can't lie about the actual effects of war. You can lie, say, instead of 2 million people died or 100,000 died. But at the end of the day, people still die.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, there's, like, for example, what's going on in the Middle East with Syria. You know, they're becoming destabilized. Egypt's become destabilized recently. And the U.S. has interest there. You know, the obvious is oil, also because of what the oil, how it affects everything else, the cost of everything else in the markets. But they, you know, what's going on in the Congo? Well, how come that's not getting as much attention as what's going on in the Middle East? Don't we have oil? Well, we don't have oil interest in Africa, but there's definitely oil in Africa. You know, we see this because of the Chinese, how they're going in there and they're just taking spots over, wiping out villages, a village at a time, to claim, you know, land for oil production. And the United States...
By wiping out, you mean they're murdering the people?
That's a nice... Yeah, I'm saying it nicely, but yeah, they're wiping out villages so that, you know, the Chinese, so that they can control...
So they're not even just relocating them, they're straight up murdering people?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, the United States, you know, they try to be political about things, and they try to use, you know, shell corporations to, you know, do their dirt, but China doesn't worry about that. Yeah, they can just do it straight up, and that's what's going on in Africa. And I'm just wondering, the U.S. always has this reputation, you know, when it comes to Africa, African peoples, you know, in general, on their treatment, and you know they're completely ignoring what's going on in Congo. So I'd say 5 million deaths in the Congo since 1998, and that's what they counted. It's been going on for a lot longer than 1998.
So in actuality, that's about 8 to 10 million.
Yeah. They have a civil war in the Congo between the government and the rebels, and there's a lot of rebels. And and like I said,
and a lot of time the rebels are just trying to take the government's place. Like they're just as corrupt as the people they're overthrowing.
And that's just the way it works. That is the way it works. There's always someone next in line waiting to take your spot. You know, when you're on top, there's always plenty of people waiting to thinking that they can do that job better.
More money, more problems.
And they right now they have a ceasefire in the Congo, but it's not really a ceasefire because the government, backed by the UN, is trying to take back control of territories where the rebels have had control for a while. So, you know, it's same stuff, different day when it comes to the Congo. But I mean, 5 million people dying since 1998 that they've counted, because this thing's been going on long before 1998. What is that? How come the United States isn't talking about this?
Well, I think the United States is talking about it, but they're talking about it in a way where...
We're not hearing about it.
Right, exactly.
They're talking about it behind closed doors, but they're not talking about it on the news. You know what I found out about the Congo? The most information I've had this week hearing about the Congo? And Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera Network. Not CNN, not Fox. Al Jazeera. I mean...
Well,
say what you want about them, but you know they're pretty thorough about their information, and the way they give it to you is straight up raw.
Well, think about it. I mean, Americans were heroes, right? So the only way it would make it to the news is if we were doing something about it. You know what I mean? That's a civil war. I mean, I don't know how we're contributing, how it's... I mean, it is affecting us, but there's no way that we're contributing. So how are we going to look like the heroes in that situation?
Yeah, we need to look like heroes is what you're saying. So
exactly.
It's very
so
important.
That's why it's not on mainstream news.
America has this delusion that they're going to be the number one in everything forever. And that goes for journalism. And it's, you know, like there's no way that these other countries are gonna have a higher standard than we do. But it's true.
I like to add to that. Or change a little bit. It's not so much that the people running the country want to feel like they're number one forever. They want the people who aren't making these policy decisions. They want them to feel like we're going to be number one forever. So they, like what we were saying about keeping us in a cocoon, keeping us in the dark,
Yeah.
and then when things fall down, we're just being left alone. Like, yeah, good
You
luck.
ever see Russia Today?
No, you know what? No. Well, yeah.
Russia Today is an internet news program that's it's put on by Russian journalists who speak English for Americans' benefits because they'll talk about things that the American media won't talk about.
Gotta check that out. Check that out.
Yeah.
But you know what though? You can't put the sole blame on the media. You have to blame the people too, though, because we as Americans, we gravitate to what I so-called nonsense. If there's a tabloid or if there's a star or something like that getting arrested, getting drunk or whatever it is, quickly you see millions of tweets.
I mean, people were following Lamar Odom.
Oh,
Really?
but when you
This week it was like Lamar Odom was, everyone wanted to know where he was.
Yeah,
He's
no-
connected with the Kardashians. He's always like the third.
Why do the Kardashians
He's never been better than the third
on
best player on the team.
every one of those magazines every week? Why are they still? I don't understand.
because they're out there every day and they're the family of the future. I've heard individuals quote the Kardashians, which is kind of crazy.
You
to
heard
me.
him quote the Kardashians.
Yeah, it's like, one person said, Chloe said, da-da-da. I was like, what? You serious? You quote the Kardashian? Okay, that's what's up.
Okay.
But
Well,
I mean,
we're at that point now.
yeah,
We've gotten
I'm just
there.
like, okay. But then you see situations like this where, we put something up on Facebook, and I don't want to bash the individuals. I just want to say we're trying to educate because we're learning as well. And that's the key thing. We have to change our mentality because things that are happening in Congo, things that are happening in Syria, things that are happening in Iran, Iraq, wherever, here in the United States, we can't continue to look the blind eye because we want to live in this bubble. We have to change this mentality because what? That's what the news is going to preach to you. That's what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you what they think you want to hear. Because if not, you're not going to continue to watch it. So we're not receiving this information because if they talk about something else, more people will tune in. Versus if they talk about uranium bullets, nobody's going to tune in. They're going to change the channel and watch the Kardashians. So we have so much dumbed down media.
That is true. That is true.
We have so much dumbed down media that it happens to kind of overtake everything else and it trumps everything else. So we have to stop. We have, as a people, we have to say, nah, we need more Al Jazeera's or whatever it's called. We need more Russian, what is that called? Russia Today. You know what I'm saying? We need more Minority Men shows. We need more this. We need more that.
I want to hear from the listeners. What do you think we need more of? 857-366-5444. We've been talking about this stuff. We've been talking about the consequences and the good that comes from war. But maybe we haven't talked enough about the good that's coming out of war. If you think that there's some good things that are coming out of these wars that we've been involved with recently, or conflicts that we've been involved with recently, hit us up, 857-366-5444. I just remember that gas prices were supposed to go down.
No, they actually went up.
When this conflict with Iraq started.
So the gas owners, the ones that really control the bulk of the money, the barrels of oil, crude oil went up. So we pay more. What happens is they're getting richer and we're getting poorer. That's what war does. War makes the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It separates, it divides. Now, people always talk about this class in the United States, that there's no middle class. Let's stop going to wars. Let's stop sending our sons and daughters to these wars that are losing them, because we're losing that transition of intelligence, smarts, power, wit, greediness, and movement. Because if you send a 22-year-old who's a math genius, but he doesn't have the opportunity, so he goes to war and die, you've lost that.
Yeah, very true.
You've
very
lost that.
true. Wow.
You've lost that next generation. And we continue to send these individuals there over and over again and think it's okay. But we keep losing. But the people who are at the top, they're going to continue to make.
And people got these support the troop bumper stickers. Like, that does a whole lot for the troops.
You know, and I want to share a story because...
It does. It makes you think about them for that
1 second. I myself, I'm a veteran, you know, and I've been overseas twice. And one of the things that I say is that you can look at me or you can look at another veteran and you can say, you know, good job, you know, thank you for, you know, supporting this country. Thank you for what you do. I hold it and I take it with a grain of salt. The reason I do is because why am I coming back and then I see so many other homeless veterans? Why they're not implementing more programs for these veterans?
That's what I'm saying. Like, people slap that sticker on the back of the car and act like they just did something.
Yeah, it's that patriotism. You know what I'm saying? It's trying to, I wave the American flag. And don't get me wrong. I appreciate and I love America because I've been around the world and I've experienced other things. Now, do I understand? Do I agree with all their politics and their situations and what they do? No, I don't. But at the same time, there's no other place I would love to be. I'm going to be honest. Because I've been around the world and I've seen it. And I've seen how their government treat them. And I see how these individuals live and how they think.
Now I haven't been in the military, but I've traveled. And, you know, poor in this country, it ain't good. I've seen some poor in other places, and it is rough.
No,
and the way that the government treats the people.
Oh, it's even worse. I mean, to be honest with you, they consider poor people here secondary citizens, and I consider myself poor, so I'm a secondary citizen. But they consider poor people elsewhere, for instance, like third world countries, as not people.
They don't even exist.
They don't exist.
Yes,
they're like not even on their map. And that is so sad.
And in those countries, a lot of the times those people don't choose to be poor. But in America, there's... I just remember being in college and there were just some people who chose to live on the streets. Because there's more freedom, but yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's wonderful to live in a land of options.
Yep.
But like Eisenhower said, the citizens need to question the government so to create the balance that we are still moving forward and not destroying ourselves.
You know, Anthony Cook, I like that. I like what you just said. Because one of the things that I find, we do question, but we don't follow up on our questions. You know, like right now, there's a race, you know, for mayor here in Boston. First thing we do, we go out, always say, hey, you know, we're going to support this person, that person. But we don't hold them accountable. Once they get into office, people don't go to them and say, hey, listen, I voted you in here. I went out and I supported you. Now, to my understanding, a lot of them, what they do is the bulk of the money, the bulk of their contribution is the one that they talk about. Like those people that put the most money into their campaign. You know what I'm saying?
I guess Suffolk put a lot of money into campaigns over the years because they're everywhere. But anyway, that's for another time.
You know, but you know, I can't blame Suffolk.
No, I can't blame Suffolk either. I mean, business is business.
Business is busy. Hey, you got to have that green palm now and then.
Yeah,
it's just the way of the world.
That's ultimate networking, isn't it?
Yeah. But what I'm saying is we always want to complain, and I always look back at people. You know, we always want to talk about they're not doing this for us, they're not doing that. Hold them accountable. Go to their offices, write them. You know, let's stop watching all this nonsense. Why is TMZ such a
That's the first step to stop watching the nonsense.
But see, the thing is, though, I mean, I understand you can't fully blame the government, but if you watch TV or if you read the internet, there's pop-up ads. If you watch YouTube, there's mandated ads that you have to watch or some ads that you could skip. We're just being bombarded with nonsense constantly. So it doesn't, so my point is, yes, you do have to make a conscious effort to really be an educated consumer, you know. And I like, Blue, how you said where you got your resources from. I like how you said, Anthony Cook, like who this author was as a person and where his perspective, because depending on who's writing the article or who's creating the video, determines, their perspective on the different on whatever they're talking about. So I just it is very important to be an educated consumer, and it takes